right, welcome to today's training. This is day one of the highest, grandest version course. I'm so glad that you're here with me to go through this experience with me. This is the same exact course that I used to radically transform my life, to shift my perspective and to put into practice all the things that I knew that were working, but they really weren't working at the level that I wanted them to be working at, to really create the life of my dreams, to take me from where I was to start living as if I already was the person I wanted to become. And that's really what this first day is about. So let's just jump right into the training. So for starters, all right, I want you guys to start thinking about who you would like to become. What is it that you want to be? What is it you want to do, that you want to create, that you want to have in your life? So what we're going to talk about is how to put into play all the actions and the mindsets that we need to live at the highest level. So I want you guys to start thinking about what is it that you would be thinking if you were already operating at the level that you would like, at like the highest level you can imagine. So just take a few minutes right now and start to think, start to visualize, like I already am the person I want to become. I've already done the things that I want to do. Like you've already created that business, you've already created that family, you already have the relationship of your dreams, you've already got the house, you have all the things, but more importantly, you got the feelings inside of like, I am who I want to be, like I'm happy with myself as a person, and I'm fulfilled, and I'm like growing as a person. I have the connected relationships. I feel such satisfaction and peace and joy and harmony in my life. Take a moment and breathe that in. What would that be like for you? What would it be like if you already were the person that you can imagine yourself to be at the highest level? Would you start your day with meditation? Would you have an intimate and awesome relationship with your kids if you have children? Would you have the perfect relationship of your dreams with your partner? What about the job that you have? What kind of career would you have? Would you be giving your gifts at the highest level? What kind of things would you be doing? What would your day-to-day life be like? Would you wake up at 9 a.m. and work until noon and then be done for the day? Would you have a life of travel and excitement? Would you be able to have amazing social interactions with people, just like talk to strangers about incredible things and have experiences, interactions that you can only imagine right now? And that's in fact what we're doing. We're just imagining what would it be like if we were already operating at the highest level. So picture that for a moment. Breathe it in, feel what it's like. You are the highest, grandest version of yourself. That self already exists inside of you. And what we're going to be doing is putting into practice the principles and tools and techniques that I've been developing and learning over the last 25 years that are going to take us to that level in a very, very short period of time. I want you to know that I've come a long way. I am not the person today that I used to be not so long ago. My life was complete and utter chaos up until the time when I was in my late 20s, and I had really reached such a point of utter desperation that I just needed to really look inside and figure out what was going on. Like, how did I create such chaos in my life? How did I create such pain and misery? I got so sick of blaming the world and not taking responsibility. It didn't matter how smart I was. It didn't matter what I learned or what I studied. I couldn't make it work. I was so intensely conflicted inside. I felt like everything was a struggle, and no matter what I did, I couldn't find the happiness and peace that I was looking for. I knew I was a smart guy. I knew I had gifts to give the world, but I couldn't get it together. I couldn't make it work. No matter what I tried, I failed, and I failed miserably, and I created some really horrible situations for myself, and I caused pain in others around me, and that caused me a lot of pain and grief and suffering. And so eventually I got to a point where I had gone down so low that I was actually in prison. And at that point, I really had to just fall on my knees and beg and cry out to something, anything. And all I wanted to know was, what was the truth? Like, what was it that got me into that position? And what did I need to do to get myself out of it so that I never had to experience that pain again? And at that point in time, I didn't even care what I had to go through anymore. I was already down so low, it didn't even matter to me. I just wanted to know the truth. Like, what happened with my life? Where did I go wrong? And how could I start to fix it? And so that really began my inner search, because I was looking on the outer for a lot of years before that. I started studying personal growth and development when I was 18. First discovered Tony Robbins and started reading his books and taking his course and everything. I can remember being 18 years old, 19 years old, not, having the money to buy his personal power course. And I could see the infomercials on TV. And, I remember being in my hotel room as a traveling salesman and just watching those infomercials again and again, knowing that, like, man, if I could just afford that course, like, everything would change. My life would have to change, because I'd watch the people giving the testimonials and I could sense their genuineness and I could sense their transformation. And I just wanted that so bad. And I remember getting my first bank account and having $100 to my name and calling up the company and asking if I could write post-dated checks to get the course, and they let me do that. And I got that course in the mail, and I started to implement what it was teaching. But still, my focus was so external. I could take actions. I eventually got myself to the point where I knew I couldn't just listen to these things. I had to start putting them into play. But no matter what actions I took, my results were less than fulfilling and less than satisfying. It was never creating the life that I wanted. And so, eventually I gave up. I even turned to a life of crime for a while, because I figured, hey, if I can't get what I want doing the right things, I'm just going to start doing the wrong things and see if I can get what I want that way. And, that didn't work for me either. I found out very soon that no matter what I created externally through actions that were, not rooted in the highest good for myself and for others, that no matter what I received, I would lose it. If I stole something from someone, if I cheated people out of this or that, it wouldn't be long before I was cheated out of it, before I just lost it altogether. And I lost everything over and over again, time and again. I lost the loves of my lives. I lost connections with my family. And I lost all my possessions time and again. I was homeless at times. And I say all this just so that no matter where you are in life right now, you can turn it around. Like, you don't have to go through the same pain and suffering that I went through. Hopefully you haven't. But no matter where you are, no matter what you've been through, it does not matter. What matters is today. What matters is what you put into your mind today, what you start to do with the understandings and the practices and the tools and techniques that you're going to be learning in this course. And I truly thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself and for giving me this, your time and attention for these next 30 days especially. And we're going to go even beyond 30 days because it's a 6-week course. But the first 30 days are critical. You're going to be learning a different tool and technique every single day. You're going to put them into practice, and what's going to happen is you're going to start to make incremental growth. Each day we're going to stack on the previous day by learning a new concept and putting it into play. And by the end of the 30 days, what's going to happen is your growth will be incremental for a while. But the neat thing about growth is there's several different kinds of growth. And incremental growth is the kind that you usually see whenever you begin a new skill. You start to make progress right away. Like, let's say I started to learn playing guitar today. And what's going to happen is at first I pick it up and it's totally uncomfortable. It's totally new. Every single thing is new and I'm terrible at it. But I practice and I start to make a little progress. Then the next day I make a little more progress. The next day I make a little more progress. And pretty soon, hey, I'm getting sort of proficient with this thing. But also very soon what happens is when we work that way, we hit a plateau and eventually it becomes very difficult to make the same amount of progress. But here's the thing. With these techniques and these principles we're going to be learning, underneath the surface, you're going to also be making exponential growth. And the thing about exponential growth is you don't see it at first. It goes on underneath the surface and it's so subtle. But by the time you actually get to see exponential growth happening, as soon as you begin to notice that something is happening, it's about ready to skyrocket. It's literally going to take off and take you to a point to where you can't even imagine the breakthroughs that you're going to have. That was the whole principle of this course that I chose for myself when I first had the concept last year. And I can tell you from my own experience, it works. If you put the time in and you use the tools that I'm going to give you and you are consistent with it, you're going to find very soon. For me, it took 3 weeks. For me, I've had a bunch of students go through this course and everyone is a little bit different. But for me, I was making that growth every day for a little while, and then I hit some challenges and things. But before long, it took off and I skyrocketed. And I remember the day it happened. I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh my God, this thing works. It absolutely does work. So I just say that to inspire you to stay with the program, to take the actions that I'm going to be explaining to you, and each day just stay with it. Be consistent. Like no matter what, you're gonna be mind blown. You're gonna feel maybe a little overwhelmed at times, but there's a practice that's called overload. It's like consistent overload, and what you're doing is you're actually going to get yourself to the point to where you break through, and that's the whole point. So for the first day, what you're going to do is you're going to start to write down the thoughts that you think you would have, that you believe you would have if you were already operating at the highest. So take a moment to think, what if I was already living that life? If I was already that person that I wanted to be, who would I be and what would I be thinking? What are the quality of the thoughts that I would have? What are the types of the thoughts that I would have? Just write down, take about 15 minutes after you stop this video and sit down with a pen and paper. You should have a journal for this because you're going to chart your progress throughout the whole course. So for day one, that's your practice today. Imagine yourself already operating at the highest level, and I'm going to give you some ideas to get you started. So for me, when I did this exercise, the first thoughts that I wrote down were like, as I put myself in that position, I did everything I could to really make it real. I visualized it. What were the smells that I'm smelling? You know, what's the feelings that I'm feeling inside? Who's around me? What can I see? What's going on in my life? What do I have? What am I creating? And so some of the thoughts that I came up with were, I can do it. Of course I can. So I wrote that down. You know, that's a very empowering thought. I imagined that if I was operating at the highest, that thought would be in my present awareness. Another one is that there's enough love to go around in the world. There's infinite love, and I can freely share the love that I have. That way I'm not holding back my gifts. So that was another one. I'm just going to pull out my notes here for a minute so I can give you guys. This is the best day of my life. I'm unstoppable. I am loved and accepted by so many, but most importantly is that I deeply love and accept myself. So as I'm reading these to you, think about the quality of them and how they're written. They're written in the present tense, and they're written as if they're already real and they've already happened. I'm awesome. You're awesome too. I feel fantastic, better than I've ever felt in my life. I'm in the best shape of my life. I eat healthily and regularly exercise. I meditate daily. I have a routine for my day and I always complete it. I'm so lucky to have these people in my life. You know, I'm so lucky to have that awesome relationship with the person of my dreams. I'm incredibly grateful for the abundance of love, life, health, satisfaction, impact, peace of mind, happiness, and wealth I'm blessed to have. I'm just going to stop there because one of the fundamental and foundational aspects that you're going to be learning and putting into practice in this course is gratitude. Gratitude is so powerful, and when I learned this and when I really started to put it into practice, I started understanding that gratitude is my secret weapon. Guys, I don't know if you've had a gratitude practice, but I highly, highly recommend you start every morning by focusing on some things to be grateful for. This will change your life because, as Joseph Murphy said back in the 1960s in his book, The Miracle of Mind Dynamics, there's such a thing as called the law of increase. And basically what it states is that whatever you are grateful for in your life, you tend to get more of. And so as we focus on the things that we already have that we're grateful for, and you can be grateful for anything, it doesn't matter. But what they've studied with neuroscience research and what they've discovered is that there is no other practice that gives you a greater spike in happiness than the simple act of gratitude. And you can be grateful for anything, such as just this breath. Just the breath that you're taking in this moment is enough to spike your happiness, to give you a sense of peace. And so just keep that in mind as we go through. As you start to think these thoughts, really I want you to feel the gratitude that you have. And just you're making it so real in your mind. You know, you have to create these things in your mind first. Everything gets created on the inside first. We think that we'll be fulfilled on the outside when the externals happen, but that's not the way it works. You know, we don't experience the world out there. What we experience is the recreation of the world in our mind. And so by understanding that and using it, we can flip it around. We don't have to wait for the outside world to catch up. We don't have to wait for time. We don't have to wait for the future, because the future doesn't exist. When it happens as the now. And we can be totally happy and fulfilled now. So just think about that. Again, I'm so thankful for you. I appreciate you as a person, and I respect you for taking this time out. And I know that you're going to make some massive changes. So just stick with me, do the exercises every day, and let's get it going. You already are the highest, grandest version of yourself, and all we're doing is bringing it out to the surface. So stop the video, and as soon as you're ready, take out your journal and start to write down 10 things, 15 things. Take 15, 20 minutes, write down the highest thoughts that you can imagine, and let's get it going. All right, I'll check back with you in a little bit, and we'll get started with the next part of this video.